Hey YouTubers, I'm Mr. Rembrandt and this is Mr. Rembrandt. So, there's a viral name going around by the name of Dr. Robert Malone. Recently, Dr. Robert Malone was on the Joe Rogan podcast that you can watch on Spotify to see the full episode. And Malone has recently been on the PBD podcast, which is Patrick Bet David podcast. We're going to react to a clip from that podcast episode of Dr. Robert Malone. Now, for those who you don't know, a lot of Dr. Robert Malone's videos have been taken down because of the fact that they said that he's spreading vaccine misinformation. So, Dr. Robert Malone claims he is the inventor of the mRNA vaccine technology. Now, I've read many articles on Dr. Robert Malone, and I haven't seen anything so far to refute the fact that he is claiming that he's the inventor. He did vital research in the Salk Institute in 1987, and he has cited pivotal work on working with mRNA and DNA to do research in mice that he later said will be pivotal in doing research on humans in the near future for possible uses of vaccines. The only controversy I've seen with Dr. Robert Malone is that there are many outlets claiming that he's spreading vaccine misinformation. So without further ado, we're going to react to this video of Dr. Robert Malone.
Why do you think? Why do you think so many people are trying to, silence you from having people hear what you have to say? There's got to be a reason for somebody to say, "Listen, this guy's doing more harm than good." What do you say to those people?
So it partially relates to mass formation, this theory of Matthias Desmet, not my theory. And it partially relates, it goes back to a very active campaign to promote two people for the Nobel Prize. If you track back to the origin of a lot of these attacks,
Yeah.
it goes back to the very concerted effort that was mounted by BioNTech, Pfizer, and by UPenn to promote Carrico and Weissman for the Nobel Prize. And they got most of the major prizes. They got the Lasker Award, which, by the way, is managed by an investment fund. But they didn't get the Nobel. And it was fascinating watching this play out. It was a standard concerted campaign. And there is a school of thought that if one wishes to win the Nobel Prize, you have to use mass media in order to influence the committee. And so I saw this playing out, particularly my wife did, which is what kind of sparked all of this off, is I was being written out of history in Wikipedia and in every other platform. And it's basically a stolen valor situation. People were taking credit for what I did in the late 1980s. I've never denied what they did. I've never attacked what they did. It's a scientific effort that they accomplished.
Why would they do that? Because, Kai, can you do me a favor? Can you pull up the article I gave you from? I gave you an article in regards to who came out with mRNA. If you can pull that article up, it's not that one. It's one of the most recent ones I just sent you.
This is you talking about the Nature one?
That one right there. Okay, so this article came out because the biggest thing is when I go online and I see where people give you a lot of criticism is he has on his LinkedIn profile that he's the inventor of mRNA, right? That's what they say. So let me kind of put this on there and see what you're going to be saying. So I go online and there's this doctor called Dr. Eric Topol, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly or not, and he's followed by some credible people. It's not like he's not followed by credible people.
He is part of the mainstream narrative, has been for a long time.
Fair enough. He said, on a related matter, Dr. Malone, who asserts he is the inventor of mRNA vaccine and actively cultivates vaccine skepticism, is not and has admitted that fact. And then he puts the links below and talking about two other people. And then he brings up this picture of you in his tweet. But if you read this article, go all the way to the top. And the article, it says, go all the way to the top, all the way to the top, how scientists Drew Weissman, MED87, GRS87, and Catalin Carrico developed the revolutionary mRNA technology inside COVID vaccine. while I'm reading through this article, there's not a single mention of your name in here. And then in the comments section, some people say, why, if you can do Control F, type in Malone, do Control F and type in Malone. The only place you see this is in the bottom by John Carter, whoever commented this on January 3rd, 2022, which is 3 days ago. This article is a complete rewrite of history. No mention of Dr. Malone, who claims to have discovered in vitro and in vivo RNA transfection at the Salk Institute in 1987, and that he later invented mRNA vaccines in 1988. This predates anything cited here. So your claim is, I'm the inventor of this.
So if we just recap really quick, as you see here, there seem to be other individuals in the vaccine world that are trying to take credit, maybe more mainstream people, maybe more people who are in the run for the Nobel Prize. It seems to be people trying to take his credit away from him in different ways, and not give him what he is due. But as we see in the comments, that there are people who understand him as the inception of creating or being responsible for creating the mRNA vaccine. We'll continue going into it from there.
They say you are not. They don't mention any of the names. Why are they saying that, and why are you saying that you're the inventor?
So the reason that I'm saying it is because I have 9 issued patents that have my name on it that were filed in 1988.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is public information.
It's widely available and never cited. So, for instance, the Nature article of the Tangled History of mRNA Vaccines, which I provided that author with extensive access to deep information,
Okay.
including the primary invention disclosure, which I validated by allowing him to speak, enabling him to speak to the scientist Mark Kindy that cross-signed it. I think it was 1987 or 1988.
You said enabling him. Who is him?
I'm speaking of the author of the article,
Okay.
in the Tangled History of mRNA
Okay.
that was published in Nature. That none of these articles have cited the patents that have been part of this mainstream press narrative all the way through, including. So this traces back to the. Let me roll back a little bit more. Drew Weissman is a Tony Fauci postdoc. Katie Carrico is literally a former Hungarian spy.
Can you type that? Can you type that up there? Just type in her name.
Yeah.
And type in Hungarian spy, because I want us to just go.
So Robert Malone at this point gets deeply into arguing his case on why they have engaged in the stolen valor. But at this point we can see that Robert Malone says that he has made his stake for many different patents that he has applied for when it comes to the technology involved in the mRNA technology. I don't see why why somebody would lie about that, especially if you wanted to as an individual. You can go look up these patents for yourself. It's different. We could tell somebody's lying when they try to skate around different things, but when somebody makes a claim that makes a claim about something to where you can look up undoubtedly in public database, it's hard to see him as a liar. Now, I haven't looked up these patents, so I don't know whether they exist or not. I'm just reacting to this video, but if some of you want to look them up, you can. But the guy is claiming that he has patents. So if that is true, he has legal rights, and those patents would date back to the inception part of when research was being done for the vaccines as far as mRNA. Continuing.
Go back to the article prior to that. Go all the way to the top.
It's in the European press.
My goal is by the end of the call, by the end of the interview, just type in her, copy paste her name.
Yeah, but I recommend you don't use Google.
And then go do copy paste. What would you like us to use? So,
DuckDuckGo.
Okay, go to DuckDuckGo and typical Hungarian story returns to Hong COVID-19 Hungary in 1970. Security had to be. She said
was contacted by.
Who has verified that she was a like?
No, you can easily search and find it.
Okay, so fair enough. But go ahead. You're saying so she's a Hungarian spy.
So these two have an interesting history background.
Okay.
Katie, I learned about Katie. She contacted me. It was almost a decade after I had done the original work. I was working at UC Davis as an assistant professor.
Okay.
And you can find the footprints of this interaction in her first mRNA-related paper, in which she not only cites my work as one of the standard academic citations, but she lists in the acknowledgments appreciation for my interaction with her. She called me. I put her in touch with junior people in my laboratory group, another assistant professor. I put her in touch with a professor at UC Riverside who had done key work in mRNA 5' and 3' and translated region interactions, and did anything I could to help her, invited her to a conference in Annapolis that I had set up, that I was organizing, and actively tried to help her move forward with her work. This is all literally just about a decade after I did my work. So she is very aware of what I had done. I helped her early on. And then when she and Drew Weissman wrote their initial review paper, where they talked about mRNA and mRNA vaccines, which is what this whole thread builds off of, they grossly minimized my contributions.
Why would they do that, and how could they do that?
This is the way science is. Science is a wicked competitive business, and it's easy to do. You undercite, or you miscite, or you fail to cite.
So let me ask you this. For me, my experience have been, for whatever reason, doctors are extremely arrogant and very cocky, almost like a god. What's the word I'm looking for?
The hubris might be.
So, again, as we could see, he's trying to go into the history of why hasn't been given the credit that he deserves in regards to the research and technology that he has done. He seems to be trying to get deep into the conversation. As the conversation moves on, I'm pretty sure he tries to get even deeper on the reasons why. But there seems to be a big, deep story on why he has not been given the credit that he deserves. But again, from the articles I've seen and from all the information out there, I haven't seen anything yet claiming that he hasn't done early research on mRNA and DNA. And many of these articles have cited that he, yes, has done early work on mRNA and DNA, and he is pivotal to writing papers that he has put out to the science community that this could be the future of vaccine technology.
A word.
Hubris might be the word, but more like the feeling of, I'm God, I know what I'm talking about, I'm the expert.
It's insanely competitive. It's all about money and power.
But here's the point, though. When I do a lot of the research, when people come, I'm not in your world, so all I'm doing is I'm just speculating stuff, and I'm trying to get a little bit closer to the truth by asking people on both sides. So, most people will say nobody ever invented a vaccine. It's co-inventor. You did it with a group. There was a group of people that helped.
That is the criticism. So let me give you some feedback.
Sure.
Here's a metaphor.
Okay.
Just because a group of engineers designed the 737 MAX, it doesn't mean that the Wright brothers didn't invent power flight. The core technology and the applications are disclosed in 9 issued U.S. patents and multiple foreign patents that were filed in, I think it was March 1988, and another patent that was filed by the Salk Institute but dropped, and it was filed on exactly the same day. So this whole issue, this is why and frankly, it's my wife that is really royally pissed off about all of this.
So he makes an important claim here, which has a lot of validity to it. We do not in history say the Wright brothers aren't pivotal in the foundation of airplane flight, even though, if I can remember correctly, all they've really done is made a glider out of makeshift material, and they were able to have that glider travel in the air for a period of a lot of seconds. Now, with that said, that was a pivotal moment that we in history revert back to as some of the founding situations that occurred on why we have flight in airplanes today. We don't say, well, because of what the Wright brothers did with this little makeshift glider, they have no importance in the world of flight and aeronautics. So Robert Malone makes a good claim there. Just because afterwards, maybe there probably were hundreds or thousands of scientists who worked on this and got it to where it is today. But nobody from the inception point did what I did to make it pivotal to slingshot into what it is today. Very important, very important. So that's all the reaction I'm going to do to this video. I'm Mr. Rembrandt. Make sure you stick around for more videos. And make sure you go to the podcast, Verbal Artwork with Mr. Rembrandt. And I will see you on the next video.